Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I'll be covering the southeast storm system that will bring continued flooding, rain, and severe weather possible through today and into Friday. And then a strong spring cold front this weekend from the Midwest to the Gulf Coast could be producing heavy rain and severe weather as well. And then a concerning weather pattern taking shape across portions of the country as we get into late April. We'll detail those areas later on in today's video. Looking here across the southeast, we got some flooding concerns here this morning. We have the flood watches down here into southeastern Louisiana near the New Orleans region, portions of far southern Mississippi, and then we also have flash flooding ongoing down here toward the Fort Lauderdale area where we actually saw over 20 inches of rain in just a short amount of time in just about 6 to 8 hours down here into southeast Florida. And it's all due to the system down here near the Gulf Coast. We got that low pressure system, a cutoff low just south of the ridge that's anchored up here across the Great Lakes. And as we go through the day today and into Friday morning, that's going to start to eat away at the southern side of this ridge of high pressure that will push across the northeast on Friday. And this is going to cause some problems. So we have some severe weather as we go through the day today. The Storm Prediction Center already upgrading this area to a level 2 of 5 in the yellow here, a slight risk for severe storms across southeastern Alabama, southern Georgia, and getting into northern and eastern side there of Florida. This does include the Jacksonville area down into Fort Lauderdale and portions of Miami, Florida as well. And we have that strong mid-level flow on the eastern side of the system coupled with a moderately strong low-level jet in the 700 millibar layer. So we definitely have to concern ourselves for some rotating thunderstorms and some tornadoes possible, especially in this brown shaded color across southern portions of Georgia and extreme southeastern Alabama through the day today. But anywhere in this green shaded color, you still stand the chance for a tornado, as you have a 2% chance of a tornado up here, including the Atlanta area, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and even extending down into Florida here, places like Tallahassee, Jacksonville, down into Fort Lauderdale, and even the Miami area as we go through the day today. So looking here at the future radar, what the radar could look like about noon time frame here today, we got these arcing bands of showers and storms revolving around the outer edge of this low pressure system that will be anchored down here into southeastern Mississippi. And every once in a while, we could have these arcing bands that could go severe to produce some damaging winds, some large hail, but even some rotating thunderstorms as well through the afternoon into the evening time frame. And then that will continue overnight. I think after midnight here into Friday morning, we're going to start to lessen the severe threat, but the heavy rainfall threat will still be there as we cross into eastern Georgia into South Carolina there, and then that will push even farther north by sunrise on Friday by the 6, 7 o'clock time frame for your Friday morning commute. Back up here into western Virginia, the Carolinas, definitely be watching out for some more heavy rain, but again, the severe weather threat will be much less here across these areas as this pushes to the north. This will be causing some problems with some more flooding because the total rainfall accumulation now through Friday morning will be adding up in a big way, another 1 to 2 inches and maybe even locally higher amounts possible anywhere you see these darker greens and blues down here across southern Mississippi, central portions there of Alabama, getting into Georgia, the Carolinas, especially there into eastern South Carolina, places like Myrtle Beach, down there toward Charleston, maybe as far south as the Savannah, Georgia area as well, seeing some pretty heavy rain through Friday morning. And this will be concerning for flash flooding. So from today all the way through Friday morning, we have a marginal risk for flash flooding covering portions there of Mississippi, central and southern Alabama, over there into Georgia, South Carolina, and parts of Florida, especially the east coast there of Florida going through that Friday morning time frame. And then that will all lift up into the Carolinas as we go into Friday afternoon and into Saturday morning as that main push of moisture pushes up there across the Carolinas during that time frame. But again, don't forget to slap that like button down below, press the thumbs up button, definitely much appreciated. The more likes we get, the more people who view this video, so I definitely definitely appreciate it. And also don't forget to press the subscribe button down below as well. It's free to do, and you get detailed weather breakdowns each and every morning at 9 a.m. on this channel. I cover southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics as well. So definitely press the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. But as we go through late this week, we still have that ridge of high pressure anchored up here across the Great Lakes that will slowly meander its way farther to the east across southeastern Canada into the northeast late this week on Friday the 14th. And this is still going to be bringing us some record high temperatures in spots as we go through today. We're up into the 90s into places like Nebraska, western Kansas here. That's the areas that we've seen with the drought. Easier to warm up across these areas as we have the dry ground, but we definitely see a lot of these areas here, including Chicago, Milwaukee, on up even into the Twin Cities region, getting well into the 80s this afternoon. Some 80s up here across the East Coast, including New York City, Boston, all the way down into the Washington, D.C. area. But this does have a concern as well. So as we're warming up, we definitely have to concern ourselves for some fire weather concerns as well, with a red flag warning from the Four Corners region through the Central Plains here, all the way up into the western Great Lakes, where we definitely have to watch out for some fire weather spreading very quickly, because the relative humidity values this afternoon are going to be down into the 10, 20, and even 30% range anywhere you see these darker brown shaded colors from the western Great Lakes all the way through the Central Plains and back into the Four Corners regions. And that is coupled with some strong winds. So our max wind gusts could be up near 40, if not 45 miles per hour in some of these areas into Iowa, Nebraska, portions there of Kansas, and then back into the Four Corners region here into the New Mexico and Colorado. We definitely have to be watching out for that through today and into Friday. And that's why we have the elevated to, if not critical, fire weather concerns through the day today. So no outdoor burning if you live here across Iowa, Nebraska, getting into western Kansas here, especially in this red shaded color across Nebraska, western Kansas, eastern portions of Colorado, getting into the northwestern side of the Amarillo area, and then down into eastern New Mexico. And then as we go into Friday, all these warmer temperatures will be sticking around. We got a bit of a cold front moving in across the Dakotas and western Nebraska, but ahead of that, temperatures will be back into the 70s and 80s, and we have the low relative humidity values, especially down here across portions of the southern plains, where we're going to be seeing values as low as 10% by Friday afternoon. So we have a widespread area of critical fire weather concerns across the Texas Panhandle into southeastern New Mexico. This does include Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, Texas, and then as far west here again as southeastern New Mexico on Friday. Definitely be watching out for that. But going through Friday, we're also tracking a cold front that's going to organize up here across the upper Midwest and the Central Plains that will be diving east-southeastward through Saturday. That warm sector will be opening up with some showers and storms from the western Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico on Saturday afternoon, and then that will continue to push farther to the east on Sunday, setting up some showers and storms from the mid-Atlantic states all the way down into the southeast yet again, even after we've seen some flooding rains into Florida and Georgia here going through late this week. But looking here at the severe weather potential on Friday, it's a conditional risk, but we still have a level 2 of 5, a slight risk in the yellow shaded color here from the Storm Prediction Center across southeastern Nebraska, getting into eastern Kansas here, including the Topeka, Wichita regions, and then farther south into the Oklahoma City and Tulsa metro areas on Friday, and even a marginal risk farther south into the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex into North Texas through that time frame. Looking at the individual hazards, we could be seeing some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, especially here across portions of southeastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, into central Oklahoma. We also could be seeing some spin-up tornadoes, mainly confined to the Wichita, Topeka, and even the Oklahoma City, Tulsa regions going through the day on Friday. But what is more concerning is the large hail potential, as we could be seeing 2 inches or larger type of hailstones with the golf ball size or larger here across southeastern Nebraska, central and eastern Kansas, down into central Oklahoma through the day on Friday, with even maybe some quarter-size hail surrounding that as far south as the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Des Moines, Omaha, definitely have to watch out for some at least quarter-size hail through the day on Friday. So looking at the setup here, dew points will be advecting northward. We got a narrow zone of some 50 and 60 degree dew points here ahead of a dry line by Friday afternoon and evening, and that will contribute to CAPE values being up to around 1,000 to even 2,000 joules per kilogram here across eastern Kansas, central Oklahoma, down into North Texas. And this is thunderstorm fuel, so you definitely have some fuel for the thunderstorms to develop. However, there is a caveat. So we have a capping inversion that will be on the atmosphere, kind of a lid on the atmosphere here. If you're boiling a pot of water on the stove and you have the lid on it and it's still boiling, that's kind of what the atmosphere is like on Friday afternoon, and that actually strengthens more into Friday evening. So this is a very conditional risk. If those thunderstorms can pop that cap or pop the lid of the boiling pan that we're just talking about, then sure, we could be seeing some severe storms Friday afternoon and evening. So looking here at the simulated reflectivity with the radar, that again, what the radar could look like Friday afternoon. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. We got some spotty showers and storms well up to the north here across northeastern Nebraska and the eastern Dakotas. We do have to watch out for this here. HRRR model is showing potentially some supercells developing across the Lincoln, Nebraska area down into portions of northern Kansas by 4 or 5 o'clock here on Friday afternoon. These could be producing some very large, if not giant, hailstones, 2-3 inches in diameter, as well as some damaging winds and maybe a couple spin-up tornadoes, and that will kind of press its way eastward slowly toward the Omaha region as we get into the overnight hours by 10, 11 o'clock, and then that will push into western parts of Iowa here, eventually arriving into western Des Moines, Iowa after midnight into Saturday morning. But then as we go into Saturday, that cold front will continue progressing farther east. We got a marginal risk of severe storms in the dark green. This covers southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, northern portions of Illinois. This does include the Milwaukee area there, Madison, Chicago, all the way back down to the Davenport Quad Cities, western side of Indianapolis. But we have a little bit higher of a chance of severe storms across portions of southern Illinois, southeastern Missouri, getting into far western Kentucky, western Tennessee, down into the Little Rock region, Jonesboro, Memphis, all those areas, getting back into northwestern Mississippi, northern portions of Louisiana, including the Monroe and Shreveport areas, and then back into far east Texas on Saturday. And we do have a hatched area, 15% hatched area for significant severe weather, probably some very large to giant hail again on Saturday here from southeastern Missouri through central Arkansas, including the Little Rock region, and then getting down in toward the Shreveport area into northwestern Louisiana by Saturday. And again, the story's the same. We have dew points rising into the low 60s all the way up into southern Wisconsin and parts of Illinois, eastern Iowa here by Saturday afternoon. Ahead of that sharp cold front here, you see the dew points dropping sharply behind that back into the 30s. That will contribute, though, to some thunderstorm fuel or CAPE that will be convective available potential energy needed for storms. This will be up over 2,000 joules per kilogram all the way up into southern Wisconsin, Illinois, with much higher values approaching 3,000 if not 4,000 joules per kilogram farther to the south across the Arklatex region. So we know we won't be lacking with the instability, but we do have the capping inversion that will not be there either. So we definitely have more free space for these storms to develop, and we have a strengthening mid-level jet as well from the surface all the way up to 500 millibars in the mid-levels. We have some pretty good shear values kind of intercepting the stronger instability across the Arklatex, so we definitely have to watch out for some storms here. So 4 o'clock afternoon here on Saturday, we have the storms firing up across Iowa. Those will be elevated type of showers and storms, likely not severe. Then along the cold front, by early to mid-evening here, 8, 9, 10 o'clock Saturday evening, watching out for some broken line of scattered supercells. Again, large hail, damaging winds, and a couple spin-up tornadoes, with the largest hail being from places here near the St. Louis region, down through Little Rock and into Shreveport by the evening hours. That will continue to try to develop into a squall line after midnight, producing more of a heavy rain and damaging wind threat as it pushes across the Midwest, the Tennessee Valley, and the Gulf Coast. Then as we go into Sunday afternoon, that whole squall line pushes farther to the east across the Ohio River Valley, down into eastern Tennessee, and then arriving across the northeast with some showers and storms, probably more garden variety showers and storms by Monday morning commute here across New York State, down into New York City, Long Island, getting into the Philadelphia region, northern New Jersey by that Monday morning time frame. You do notice some colder air on the backside of the system here. We're going to see some snowfall moving in as we go in toward the Ontario region, Thunder Bay up here, getting down into the UP of Michigan, across Lake Michigan into lower peninsula of Michigan here. Definitely seeing the potential for snow in places like Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Michigan. Definitely something to watch out for on your Monday morning commute. But that's all because of the cooler temperatures. So behind this cold front, it's going to be a shock to the system. We're going to be down 20, 30 degrees below average with these temperatures for Sunday, and that continues even into Monday, farther east across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic. And you can see those temperatures reflected here by your high temperatures on Sunday, back down into the 40s and 50s across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region. And this will push farther east across the Northeast and much of the Ohio Valley on Monday, as well as we have more return flow back across the Great Plains on Monday. But you do see with the cooler temperatures, we will be yielding some snow. So definitely seeing over 6 inches, if not up to a foot of snow in places like northern and central Ontario. We could have a couple of inches on grassy surfaces where snow accumulation back down into the UP of Michigan, eastern Wisconsin here from Green Bay to Sheboygan, down into portions of the Milwaukee region. Northern suburbs of Chicago could see maybe an inch or two of snow on the grassy surfaces. And then over there into places like lower Michigan, here we could be seeing a couple of inches of snowfall accumulation going through that Sunday into Tuesday time frame. But beyond there, the temperature outlook, we have another reload pattern where we have the ridge coming back across the eastern 2/3 of the country, another trough diving down across the west coast getting into next week, and that's going to spell some trouble. So on Tuesday, we have the return flow again strengthening across the Great Plains. Temperatures will be back in the 70s, 80s, if not pushing 90 degrees across portions of western Kansas, western Oklahoma into the Texas Panhandle, even eastern New Mexico on Tuesday, and then more of the 90s showing up across the southern plains on Wednesday, with 70s surging all the way up into at least the lower Midwest. And that's where we have the active weather pattern overlapping some of these warmer temperatures by that Tuesday, April 18th through the Saturday, April 22nd time frame. And we also have a strong trough that is going to be moving in. So on Tuesday next week, we got a pretty strong trough moving in across the western United States. But by the time we get into Wednesday, this will be entering in across the Rockies and the western Great Plains. And then this really takes a sharp negative tilt by late next week on April 20th on Thursday. And this is going to be more of a concerning weather pattern for a severe weather perspective. So on Wednesday, April 19th, we got the return flow again. We have the temperature surging back into the 80s, 90s out here. And we have dew points back in the 50s and if not low 60s all the way up here into portions of Oklahoma and North Texas on Wednesday. And Thursday, a very nice dry line potentially setting up with dew points well into the 60s, all the way up into the Missouri Valley, some 70-degree dew points down here across coastal Texas. But then look at the sharp drop in the dew points farther west into those drought-stricken areas across Nebraska, western Kansas there, western Oklahoma to the Texas Panhandle. We could be seeing teens to 20s and even 30-degree dew points behind that dry line on Thursday. So that will bring a lot of lift. So on Wednesday, again, probably more of a conditional severe weather risk. Capping will be an issue probably with that drought persisting across these areas on Wednesday. But on Thursday, as it takes a negative tilt here with that trough, with all that wind shear in place and that instability, we definitely have to be watching out for severe weather from the Missouri Valley on southward. So on Wednesday, again, more of a conditional risk for severe storms across eastern Kansas, western Missouri, down into Oklahoma here, western Arkansas into North Texas. This does include Dallas-Fort Worth, maybe as far north as Kansas City on Wednesday. Again, more of a conditional risk pending the capping inversion. And then as we go into Thursday, late next week, it does appear that that severe weather risk becomes a little more widespread and lifts farther north. So places like central portions of Iowa there down into the Arklatex, we definitely have to watch that going into Thursday. Possibly a significant severe weather outbreak. It's too far to know for sure, but definitely something to keep an eye on over the next several days. Well, if you want additional weather forecast updates, remember to click down below in the description and follow me on Twitter at hweather420 again for additional weather forecast updates here periodically throughout the week. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Remember to like the video down below, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Thursday, everybody. A great rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next video.